Welcome back to the Chris Gates Fitness Podcast. Thanks so much for joining me in today's episode. As always, I really appreciate you being here. If you're subscribed, thank you for subscribing wherever you listen to the show. If you're not subscribed, and this is your first one, make sure that you do, because I put podcast episodes out like this every single week. And I'm excited to dive into the topic of the day today, which is why does your body weight spike up and down? This is going to be a clip. Primarily, I'm going to be running a clip here from a previous Q&A that I did last November. So talked about this almost a full year ago now. And I totally understand that people who listen to the podcast don't catch every single episode. Or if you do listen to every episode, you might not listen to every single minute of every single episode. So occasionally I like to sprinkle in these mini episodes that feature topics that I think are really helpful, really useful, so that you can, digest this information, absorb it, and make sure that you understand how to apply important concepts to your fitness routine as you move throughout your journey here. This topic. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about it before we dive into the clip. Weight spikes. This is so unbelievably common. I mean, our body weights go up and down every single day. Nobody is the same weight every single day forever. And it happens for a variety of reasons. And the primary reason this topic is so important to talk about and understand, and why I want you to listen to this clip, is because, I think the vast majority of people, when you want to lose weight, if you see your weight spike up in one individual day, it may really mess with your head. I don't think when anybody likes to see that happen, especially when you're trying to lose weight. And if your body weight spikes up for multiple days on end, what that normally leads people to do is make rash decisions, big wholesale changes to their program just because of a few days of an elevated body weight. And so this episode is going to help you understand why you don't necessarily need to do anything, and why the best course of action might be just continuing to do what you've been doing. And I'll also walk you through just a bunch of context about your body weight, and to help you understand how to know when to make the right changes. So I really think this is a helpful clip, and it addresses a pain point that virtually everybody runs into at some point in their life. And like I said, there's so many reasons why your body weight goes up and down that have nothing to do with eating too many calories or gaining body fat. If you think about the dietary things that can cause your body weight to go up, if you have more carbs than usual, more sodium than usual, you may have more food weight sitting in your system. And by food weight, I mean just food that you've eaten that is sitting in your digestive tract. Maybe you've eaten the same amount of calories as every other day, but for whatever reason, you ate more of your calories later in the day. So then more of that food is sitting in your system when you wake up in the morning to step on the scale. That's a common thing. Hydration. Maybe you drank more or less water throughout the day the previous day. There are other things that can affect your body weight as well, like sleep and stress, your daily bowel movements. There's some stuff that maybe people don't like to talk a lot about, but it definitely makes an impact. So I'm going to talk about all those things in this clip. And just, for some context, I'm actually going through, at the time of recording this episode, I'm going through a mini cut right now. A mini cut, it's going to be somewhere between 4 to 6 weeks of trying to lose body fat pretty quickly before I dive back into a calorie surplus and, a lean bulking phase. And I'm experiencing this, on a day-to-day basis. I know I'm in a calorie deficit, but I'm seeing my weight go up and down based on a variety of factors that I know are not indicative of whether I'm doing things right or not. I mean, I've done enough cuts now that I know how this stuff works. I know how many calories I need to eat to lose weight. And I know that I'm doing all the things I need to do to lose weight, but some days my weight goes up. I mean, I got 3 kids. None of them like to sleep through the night on a consistent basis. So sleep isn't always great. The food changes based on the day, what we're having for dinner, maybe more sodium or carbs, like I just mentioned. So all kinds of stuff happens to cause your body weight to go up and down. And, it's funny. I actually recently, in anticipation to publishing this podcast episode, talked a bit on my Instagram story. If you're not following me, at Chris Gates Fitness is where I am on Instagram, and that's where I am on every social media platform, so make sure you follow along. But recently on my Instagram story, I showcased one of my clients who had some weight spikes and plateaus during his summer fat loss phase. And I thought it lined up really well with putting this episode out there. And what we saw with his progress was honestly for like 1.5 to 2 months, he saw very consistent weight loss. Like it was just almost a straight line down. Sure, there were some days where there was a blip here, blip there, but he saw very, very consistent progress. And then around the 2-month mark, his weight spiked up several pounds. For no reason, he continued to do all the same things that he had been doing. And to be quite honest with you, it stayed there for 3-4 weeks. So imagine going 28 days with a elevated body weight. You would be very inclined to change a lot of stuff. But at the end of the day, we didn't, because we knew, I was able to help him understand that like what you're doing is right. This stuff happens. So we stayed the course. We stayed in a calorie deficit. Stuck with the same training routine, the same calories, the same protein, the same step count goals, and continued to plug away. And what ended up happening was there was a big whoosh at the end of that. And at the end of that, he actually ended up experiencing a brand new low weigh-in right before we ended his fat loss phase. So it's, again, very common. I'll acknowledge the fact that it's very difficult to manage on your own, and sometimes that's where having a coach can help. But hopefully this episode helps you understand how to do some self-coaching for yourself. So we're going to dive into the clip here. Real quick, I wanted to let you know that, like, kind of as a supplement to this video, in the near future, I'm going to have a video. This is a video podcast and an audio podcast. In the future, I'm going to have a video coming from my YouTube channel that walks you through exactly how to not only weigh yourself, but also take body composition measurements like waist measurements and progress photos. Those are the 3 things I document with all of my clients to help us understand and get a more holistic picture on how your body composition is evolving over time. I'm going to have that video on my YouTube channel at some point over the next few weeks here to help you learn how to track more than just your body weight to get a really solid picture on the type of progress you're making. So I have a link to my YouTube channel below in the show notes. You can go over there and subscribe. And also I have a link to my mailing list in the show notes. So definitely make sure that you're subscribed to my mailing list. And the minute I publish that, I'm going to go over to my mailing list and let everybody know. It's always the place I go first to send out brand new content. So make sure that you are subscribed. And I'm looking forward to bringing that to you to build on what we're about to talk about here and just help you understand how to, digest all this stuff and understand why the weight spikes happen, why your body weight goes up and down, and how to interpret things and make adjustments on your own to make sure you keep making progress and doing it the sustainable way. How to prevent your weight from spiking up. And this is one that, I deal with my clients all the time. And honestly, I wanted to toss this into the mix for today's episode because I've been getting this question a lot lately. With the type of people I tend to work with, I work with a lot of football fans, and we run into these situations where, you have a really solid, consistent week, and then you have a football game on Saturday or Sunday that has either like a get-together with friends at the house, or you go to the game, so you have a tailgate, you're having beers and food at the game. You step on the scale Monday morning, and it's like as many as 5 to 7 pounds up from what it was on Friday morning, right? So in the matter of 24 to 48 hours, you're like, oh my God, this is awful. I totally undid all of the good work that I put in over the week in 1 to 2 days. And, even me, I literally, the morning of recording this podcast, experienced the same thing. So I'm recording this podcast on Sunday. On Saturday, I went to a football game. I had a couple beers. I had a couple burgers, a hot dog. And I stepped on the scale this morning, and my weight was up like 1.5 pounds. And so that's one example, is going to a football game. Obviously, if you're listening, it could be based on any number of factors. But like this concept of how to prevent your weight from spiking up is one that I talk with my clients about a lot, regardless of the circumstances, because I think it's actually really important to understand why your weight does spike up. Like, why do you have fluctuations in your body weight? And what do those fluctuations mean? Because I think what people most of the time worry about is that my weight went up 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pounds in a day. What did I do yesterday? It must have been wrong. And that is really not almost ever the case. You know, sometimes you can have, I guess, like a day where you just like totally go off the plan and you eat all of the wrong foods and you overeat calories by thousands and thousands of calories. That can happen, but I feel like that's like the rare outlier. Most of the time, it's that you didn't necessarily do anything wrong. You just did things that were different and outside of your normal routine. And so when I run into this situation with clients that I work with, one of the first things I like to mention is, listen, your weight spiked up. And I know you're worried that means, okay, the scale is up 4 pounds today. Let's just use that, 4 pounds. I know that you're worried that you gained 4 pounds of body fat yesterday, but let's talk about what would be required for you to gain 4 pounds of body fat in one day. Because realistically, it is, damn near impossible. It really is impossible for you to gain 4 pounds of body fat in a day. It is really, really hard and damn near impossible to gain 1 pound of body fat in a day. It's kind of like a ballpark number. You may have heard this before, but 1 pound of body fat is equal to right around 3,500 calories. Meaning, like, we can really simplify this. If you want to take it in this direction, that would mean you would have to overeat by around 3,500 calories to gain 1 pound of fat. And that doesn't mean you need to eat 3,500 calories. That means 3,500 calories over whatever your maintenance is. So if your maintenance is like 2,000 calories, that means you'd have to eat 5,500 calories that day for you to gain a pound of body fat. And even at that, you probably wouldn't be gaining a pound of body fat because, you know, depending on your level of activity that day, there's a lot of different factors that could actually mean you would probably even have to eat more than that to gain a pound of body fat. So to gain 4, you're talking about 14,000 calories, I think, if I'm doing the math right. 14,000 calories over your maintenance is impossible. You could never eat that much. You would, if you tried to eat that much food in one day, you would end up vomiting and you'd throw up most of the calories that you put in your mouth. So, like, it's a really important thing for people to understand is that, like, when you step on the scale and it's up a few pounds from the day before, the vast majority of that is not body fat. The vast majority of that is water weight. And the reason we retain water weight, well, there is not one reason. There are a number of reasons why we retain water weight. It could be because you had more carbohydrates than usual. Oftentimes, if you're eating more food than usual or eating different foods than you usually do, there's probably going to be some more carbohydrates in there. There could be more sodium in there. So let's say like you went out to dinner, or maybe you went out to lunch and dinner in one day. If the food is prepared at a restaurant, chances are it may have a lot more sodium in it than foods that you would normally prepare for yourself at home. So you have a lot of sodium in there. Sodium causes your body to retain water, and you're just holding on to a lot of water. The alcohol can make you retain water as well. So if you go out and you have a few drinks with friends or something like that, you go to a football game, a tailgate, you have some drinks, there's an easy reason to explain why you're so much heavier on the scale. It's because you're retaining a ton of water weight because you drank alcohol and it makes you bloated. And then it could also be like if you did eat more food than usual, or if you ate outside of your normal routine, maybe you ate more food later in the day. So when you wake up the next day, step on the scale, you just have more food weight in your system than you normally would. That's not body fat. That's just food sitting in your digestive tract, and it hasn't fully, processed through your body. I don't want to get too gross here. There are so many different, all of that is to say, there are so many different things that can cause your body weight to spike up. And I don't think that any of those things are, if we want to go back to the question of the day, how to prevent your weight from spiking up, I don't think you should go into it thinking, I need to do everything possible to prevent my weight from spiking up. All of those things that we just walked through, all those scenarios and situations are perfectly normal and honestly, things that you should be allowed to do. You should be allowed to go to a football game and enjoy yourself and not freak out about it. Just understand that your body weight's going to be a little bit heavier because you're retaining some water weight. If you get back to your normal routine after 2 or 3 days, probably the vast majority of that water weight's going to come back off and you'll be back down to your normal weight by Tuesday or Wednesday, whatever it may be. You should be able to go to dinner or go out to lunch or go out and have some drinks with your friends. You should be able to eat different foods on the weekends and stuff like that. These things aren't bad. You shouldn't rein in your lifestyle to the point where you're avoiding all these things that could make your weight spike up because you don't like to see the weight spike up. Like we've already explained, I've explained this pretty well so far, I think, is that like it's not body fat. You're not putting on body fat. You're putting on water weight. And that's great because water weight will come off. It's very easy to get water weight to come off, and you don't have to do anything special. You don't have to like buy a cleanse or a detox tea to get the water weight to come off. You're just going to probably pee a lot more for like 2 days and it's going to come off and it's going to be fine. So again, how to prevent your weight from spiking up. I don't think you should do anything to prevent your weight from spiking up. That is a very normal physiological response from your body based on the circumstances that you were in. So, I feel like a lot of what I do as a coach is often, especially when I bring people new in and we start working on their program within the first month or so, month and a half, there's always a weekend where we see progress moving in the right direction week after week after week. And then there's always a weekend there in the first month or month and a half where the weight spikes up. It's going to happen, right? Like I said, it's a normal thing for your body to do. And then when your weight spikes back up, I find myself in the situation where I'm like coaching people on water weight. And I always say this is a great opportunity for you to continue stepping on the scale, continue to get back into your normal routine and see how your body reacts to all of this, because it's going to go back in the right direction. And you're going to learn the more that this happens that it's not something you need to freak out over. It's just something you need to understand. And you need to understand that then on the back end of it, when you see that happen, you don't need to do anything rash. You don't need to make crazy changes to your lifestyle. You just need to get back to what you were doing, and it's going to all normalize itself, and you're going to be fine. So don't do anything to try to prevent your weight from spiking up. Just get back to the normal routine. And I think it's going to be a very educational experience for you to see how your body weight trends. And then the more you do this, the more you're going to be comfortable and understand what's happening, and it won't be that big of a deal.